Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Let me make sure I am up. I've been having a lot of difficulty getting live recently, and I'm not quite sure why. But I'm seeing green, so I'm going to take green as if I am moving and shaking. Let's see. Let's check my value. Give me 1 second. I'm a little late today because I found a story at the last minute. I was going to do something else. I wanted to talk about talking about Tulsi Gabbard, but I'll do that in the next video. All right, so hope everyone is okay today. This is a snowy Monday here in Virginia. It's gorgeous outside, freezing, but it's gorgeous outside. So first, I want to thank everyone who subscribes. I want to thank everyone who watches my content, whether you agree with it or not. It is appreciated. Also, thank you everyone who puts money in the tip jar, the super cash, and everyone who donates to the Patreon. You guys are immensely appreciated. You know, it's funny. I know people say that a lot, but if there was no one to watch, there would be no show. It's almost like this kind of intermingling between the things. Both are required. So, thank you all very, very much. The Senate, well, the House GOP today comes out with a report saying, bombshell, no collusion between Trump and Russia. What? No collusion between Trump and Russia. Aren't you shocked by that? Aren't you shocked by that? That is the biggest nothing burger in the history of nothing burgers. This was an immaculate scam played by the Democrats with a complicit media who loved that particular attention. That's all this was. They're coming out with a report as if this report is some kind of news. There was no collusion between Trump and Russia. They had no evidence of collusion between Trump and Russia. This is something that they made out of whole cloth and they sold to the American public. They needed to do a few things. They need to obfuscate. My signal is getting weird. Yeah. They needed to do two things. They needed to obfuscate on one end their own failures, their own failings, not necessarily want to deal with why that woman lost, how she lost to a ham sandwich or to Donald Trump or the reality show host. They don't want to deal with that stuff. You have populist revolt on the left and on the right. How do you deal with that? Fact is, the populist revolt is going to go right at their donors, the people who put money in their pocket, who put money in their G-string, who sends them out to talk and to parrot particular lines that the public don't necessarily like. Any changes that would actively take place coming from the standpoint of a populist revolt will have to deal with their donors and the cronyism that's intransigent in government itself. Donald Trump did not collude with Russia. You have nothing to show that Donald Trump colluded with Russia. All of this xenophobia, all of this red baiting, all of this stuff is obfuscation and gamesmanship in order to tar and delegitimize Donald Trump. There's not a reality to it. The GOP put out a report today. Guys, I'm sorry the signal is going in and out. After this video, I push up the source where it doesn't have the breaks in it. This is the House probe for today. Come on, the heroes. Their pages take forever to load. Come on. The page is up. The pages go through these weird all right, let's put you somewhere else. Here we go. That's not it. Here we go. House GOP ending Russian probe says no collusion found. No shit. The House Intelligence Committee is shutting down its contentious investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, the top Republican leading the probe announced on Monday. The committee will interview no more witnesses, and Republicans are in the process of preparing the final report, Representative Mike Conway of Texas told reporters. A draft of the roughly 150-page report will be delivered to the committee Democrats for review on Tuesday. The draft document asserts that there was no evidence of collusion between Trump and Russia campaign, the mostly politically charged question examined by the committee. It also contradicts U.S. intelligence community assessments that Russia President Vladimir Putin showed a preference for Donald Trump during the race, another assertion that Trump disputes. Good. I wish Sanders would have the balls to dispute something like that. I wish Sanders had the balls to do that. We found no evidence of collusion, Conway said Monday. We found perhaps some bad judgment, inappropriate meetings, inappropriate judgment in taking meetings. But only Tom Clancy could take these series of inadvertent contacts, meetings, whatever, and weave that into some sort of spy thriller that could go out there. Further, he said, we couldn't establish the same conclusion that the CIA did when they specifically wanted to help Trump. Now, you can say these guys are partisan hacks, but if you're going to say they're partisan hacks, don't you also have to say the Democrats who are putting the story forward are partisan hacks? Fact is, they have not demonstrated their case. They screamed about something. The media ran with it. And from the point where the media ran with it, they crafted public opinion around this particular topic, taking it as if it was a word of God of sorts. They have nothing to show for this. The people who are pushing back on this are pushing back on it because there is nothing to show. If you're talking about the left, the argument that we're protecting Donald Trump is fucking ridiculous. Nobody on the left likes Trump in this way. What we don't accept is the Russia nonsense. That's what we don't accept. Fact is, if you ask me, why do I also, and this goes two ways, by the way, because they're connected. Meaning, Trump getting on and Clinton getting off are connected to one another. The same agents that was working on one case was working on another case, Peter Strzok's. And not just that. The Trump and Russia stuff started back in 2015. If I can find it. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, I had that clip up. I have a video where I was showing that 2015 was when they first got, or at least the first email that we found showing slaughter Donald Trump with his bromance with Vladimir Putin. This became somewhat of a political objective. This was going back all the way in 2015. As time proceeded and she lost that election, the book Shattered gets across extremely well that the Russia-Trump stuff was played up. Inside Hillary Clinton's Doom campaign by Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes, in light of this week's revelation, the Hillary campaign funded the dirty anti-Trump Steele dossier. The book takes a new significance when it reveals. Within 24 hours of her concession speech, John Podesta and manager Robbie Mook assembled her communications team at the Brooklyn headquarters to engineer the case that the election wasn't entirely on the up and up. For a couple of hours, with Shake Shack containers littering the room, they went over the script they would pitch to the press and to the public. Already, Russian hacking was the centerpiece of the argument. The plan, according to the book, was to push journalists to cover how Russia hacking was the major unreported story in the campaign, and it succeeded to a fairly well. After the election, coverage of the Russian collusion story was relentless, and it helped pressure investigators in hearings on Capitol Hill and even the meeting of the special counsel, which in turn has triggered virtually nonstop coverage. They are lying to you. That's what I'm getting at. This is theater. You hate Donald Trump, and because you hate Donald Trump, you would automatically take the story that they're telling you as if the story is true. They've shown you nothing to make sure the story is true. Any little thing that comes up, you filter it into your mind and says, hey, there's more evidence of collusion. You have nothing to show for the collusion thing. It's been 2 years with consistent media pressure. They have nothing to show for the collusion. You have a completely antagonistic press that's got rid of all things of being earnest and objectivity. They've gone after this president. All of the things that they come out with that were wrong, they were always against Trump. Again, this is not a defense of Trump. This is more so a defense of just being fucking honest in the way you go about your affairs. I don't like this idea of trying to take down a president on nonsense concocted by the other Democratic Party. The press has assiduously taken this particular narrative and ran with this narrative uncritically, as if it's just, this is the fact, this is what took place. We don't necessarily interrogate whether or not that's even true. This report is coming out saying, we're done with this investigation. There's nothing else to see here. The fact is, there is a little bit more to see here. If you're going to say there's nothing between the Russia collusion thing, don't you have to ask the other question of how did that start in the first place? How did you get the FISA warrant? when there was nothing there to get the FISA warrant on? What were you using to get those warrants in order to surveil Trump's campaign? Fact is, the person who was instrumental in getting the Trump campaign started was also associated with the Hillary Clinton campaign. The guy who was talking to Papadopoulos that tipped off, or the Australian diplomat who prompted FBI's probe has ties to Clinton. The person was a donor to the Clinton Foundation, going back 20 years. Nobody knew. Did the FBI know? Did the FBI tell the FISA judge that everybody who's connected to the information that he's providing to that judge has ties to the Clinton Foundation? Not only did she buy the dossier, but she also had links to the person who tipped him off in the first place. We also know that the agents who were associated with the case, the agent that got Donald Trump on, meaning the person who was instrumental in getting the FISA warrant on Trump, was also instrumental in making sure Hillary Clinton walked. You can't talk about the Donald Trump case without adding in the fact of how all of this started. That's my point. The fact is, if they're willing to concoct this particular thing to take down Trump and delegitimize his presidency, wouldn't they also, meaning that people who were in power at the time, that particular administration, or the people who were working at the behest of that particular administration, meaning the last administration, Democratic Party, I'm talking about the party at this point, wouldn't they also have the same impetus to make sure Hillary Clinton got off? I'm saying both of those things are connected with one another, because the agent that was instrumental in getting Hillary Clinton off was also the one that was instrumental in getting the FISA warrant on Donald Trump. These cases are connected. If you clear Donald Trump, you have to ask the question on how did all of this get started in the first place. Fact is, Comey lied magnificently. The FBI agent ousted was behind two critical turning points in the Clinton and Trump-Russia investigations. Peter Strzok's, the second highest ranking counterintelligence agent at the FBI, was involved in key junctures in the Hillary Clinton email investigation and Trump-Russia probe. Strzok was reportedly the official responsible for changing the language in the FBI Director James Comey's statement describing Clinton's private email use from grossly negligent, which carries criminal penalties, to extremely careless. Strzok was also the FBI agent who officially signed off on the Bureau's decision to launch the Russia investigation in July 2016. Strzok was ousted from Special Counsel Mueller's team last August after he sent anti-Trump tweets to his colleagues, and investigators are now reviewing the text for evidence of political bias. He's calling Trump stuff like a fucking idiot, and they're talking about an insurance plan. He's having those conversations with his lover. There are thousands of communications that they don't have access to that they've apparently just lost. You can't talk about one without talking about the other. That's my point. That's my point. The same political farce that was able to get Clinton off was the same political farce that was able to get Donald Trump connected. These two things are connected. The same forces that were allowed Hillary to walk were also the same forces that surveilled Trump, spied on his campaign, and in this case is trying to delegitimize the presidency. It feels gross to have to defend Trump on this case. But my point is here, it's not a defense of Trump. I don't like the Democratic Party. I don't like what they've been doing in this case. They've been red baiting purely for political reasons. There's an actual real country out there that they've been positioning people against purely for this idea of political ends. That's all this is. This is political theater that the public itself bought wholeheartedly because the media carried this story. The media carried this story because they're motivated to carry this story. It put asses in seats. People want to know the next intrigue. What did Donald Trump do? Is there any additional news that Donald Trump did? We don't like Donald Trump and Putin. He has a bromance with Putin. He's an animatronic robot from Vladimir Putin. He's a Manchurian candidate. This is all the shit they've been saying for 2 years. There are real things that Trump is doing in that office. There are real Bond villains that he's been putting in these particular slots. Even if you went after him for the emollients clause, in the sense that he's enriching himself and his family and the affairs that he's been taking in that office, I would understand you if those were the arguments that you were making here. But these aren't the arguments. Trump and Russia. 2 years. 2 fucking years. And you have nothing to show for it. Not just nothing to show for it. It is clearly obvious that Comey lied in that testimony. The point I bring that up is when Comey comes out and says no reasonable prosecutor will be able to bring a case against Hillary Clinton, Comey lied. My point here is Comey was lying in political theory or in judicial theory, the way prosecutors think. Lying is evidence of guilt. Why are you lying to us? When you're giving that speech and you're clearing Hillary Clinton, you're letting Hillary Clinton walk. We already know at this point that he cleared Hillary Clinton before he even talked to Hillary Clinton. If you're telling the audience that no reasonable prosecutor will bring a case against Hillary Clinton, you're lying to us. Clearly, you're lying to us. And just to make the point that he's lying, no reasonable prosecutor will bring a case like that against Hillary Clinton. Peak FBI corruption. Meet Brian Nishimura, found guilty for removal and retention of classified materials. Understand, this is the same thing that Hillary Clinton got walked on. She walked on this. This guy got locked up a few years before. Comey said that there is no prosecutor that would take a case like this. Is Comey aware of the prosecutor that was in the FBI a few years prior? It is a scandalous announcement by FBI Director James Comey moments ago, said although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified materials, and he gave extensive evidence of just that. Our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor will bring such a case. He added that prosecutors necessarily weigh a number of factors before bringing charges. There are obvious considerations, like the strength of the evidence, especially regarding intent. Is one of those variables that Comey is weighing is the individual itself? Is there an external factor beyond the political apparatus that Comey is talking about when he's saying other factors to vary? If you're looking at this purely from the standpoint of a blind justice, where you have the thing on your eyes and you're just weighing the evidence, that woman is guilty of sin. You let her walk. I have to ask the question, how did she walk when you already had someone else that was prosecuted for the similar, if not the exact same thing? What is shocking is the FBI director was clearly ignoring the United States Code itself, where in Section 793, subsection, gathering, transmitting, or losing defense information, it makes quite clear that intent is not a key consideration in the case, like when deciding to press charges. Comey changed what he was going for. He moved the goalposts. How come nobody moved the goalposts for Brian Nishimura? Why? What is even more shocking is, according to Comey, we cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts. Well, we did. Here's the FBI itself less than a year ago charging one Brian Nishimura, 50 of Folsom, who pled guilty to unauthorized removal and retention of classified materials without malicious intent. In other words, precisely what the FBI alleges Hillary Clinton did. My point is, as a flat fact, they let her walk. Hillary Clinton did not get perp walked. Hillary Clinton is at home doing whatever bad people do. In addition to letting her off, you have to ask the question, how on earth did Comey let that woman off in the way that he let her off? Somebody tilted the political apparatus itself, that is supposed to be agnostic, into assisting someone, letting her off. The same people with the control and the tilt of that particular apparatus tilted it in another direction in order to put somebody else on. The same actors that were involved in one were also involved in the other. That's the point I'm getting at. The reason I'm connecting these two cases is because these two cases are connected. Trump being put on this kind of trumped up investigation versus Hillary getting off an actual real criminal case that she should have been prosecuted on. That's my point. I hope that came through okay. I know my thing was slippery. I would have to put these pages up so you guys can see. Not to mention the communications that was going back between the agents, the money that these guys were handling, not giving over all the information to the FISA judge. This looks gross and corrupt. In fact is, they haven't made their case. When you ask them flat out, can you show that Trump colluded with Russia? Their answer is always no, because they can't answer that right out. Or they would dodge and dip and everything else. The GOP has issued their report. The Democrats are probably going to howl and scream and bitch and moan, but fact is, they will still have nothing to show for collusion. Republicans' report is right. Yes, they're biased actors. So are Democrats. You make your own decisions on it. But this is bogus to me. Troy O'Fallon, thank you, man. Just a little tip for you, JT. Thank you. I'll match and raise you, Troy Fallon. Pat Hacker. Thanks, Pat. Guys, I appreciate the super cash. I really do. Sometimes I'm shocked that people watch, and I'm not all that accustomed to doing this at that point. It's like putting a tip jar out, so it's always a little weird. I do appreciate it, guys. I honestly do. Like I said, I'm trying to expand this channel and make this channel a little bit more than what it currently is. And so it takes a little bit of time, of course, and it also takes funding. So it's slow, but it's growing. And I thank all of you who's helped me on the way to grow. So yeah, and I'm sorry this thing is flipping back and forth. Let's see. How can Mueller be stopped? Mueller can't be stopped. Does he get as long as he wants regardless of what he finds? So Robert, Donald Trump says he wants to meet with Mueller. Now, whether he should meet with Mueller, that's a whole different conversation. I don't think he should. I think that's a horrible idea to have a conversation with Mueller on this. Whether he's guilty or not is kind of besides the point. It's like, if a cop wants to talk to you, shut the fuck up. He's going to put you in prison. His job is to put you in prison. He's a skeptical SOB, and you can't trust that maniac. Shut up. Understand that Mueller's goal is to take his head off. He is not an honest actor in this process, and Donald Trump should not pretend that this guy's an honest actor. They've just had an investigation on Donald Trump for 2 years over ridiculousness. Ridiculousness. They didn't focus on the shit that he's doing in office. No, their focus is on Trump and Russia. And there is a very specific reason for that focus. Think of all the things that assailed them in that last 2016 campaign. They believe, when you listen to the woman who's arguing for superdelegates in the Democratic Party, saying we need to be able to rig the process, her main argument is the system has become vulnerable to populist actors, people who are somewhat populist, who are given a certain amount of political rhetoric. Yeah, she's saying that they've become susceptible to populist campaigns. Their goal in this is to stem the tide. They don't like this idea of these people pushing for changes in the country itself. They want status quo maintained. That's what they want. Using Russia is a way of filling up the airwaves, screaming it at the top of your lungs so nobody else can say anything else about anything else, even things that actually matter. They've sucked up all the air out of the room talking about ridiculousness. This is what aggravates me about this. It has nothing to do with the defense of Trump. It has to do with the defense of ridiculousness, preventing people from saying shit like this. It's dangerous. Russia is a real country. I understand your internal political concerns, but Russia is a real country. It's a nuclear powered nation. We do have troops close to Russia in this case. We have NATO troops on their border. And you have a population that's been politically hostile to the other country based on the political concerns of one of the parties. That is profoundly dangerous. The idea that lefties are carrying this narrative, it's fucking sad. It's absolutely sad. Motel 6 is going to cut him off. Time to pay for service. JT, service is paid for. I don't know what's going on. I love Jimmy, but I would not subscribe to TYT just to watch him. I'd rather stick with this show. I like his show too. Joe Hickey. I think the Democrats know it's nothing. It's not very much like Benghazi political theater. Pablum for the masses. Yes, agreed. Agreed. Absolutely agree. It's bogus. It's totally bogus. So Republicans comes out with their report. Good job for the Republicans coming out with their report. Democrats are going to howl and bitch and moan about it and say they're political theater, political actors. Fact is, both are political actors. You yourself look at the evidence. You yourself ask what are the intentions of the people that are in the process, and you make up your own judgment. My judgment is the fact that they let Hillary Clinton walk. The fact that Comey got up there and lied through his teeth, letting that woman walk when there was a case in the FBI, means that Comey just lied to the population. Lying to the population is some evidence of guilt in something. So if there are lies in the FBI that allowed them to let Hillary Clinton off, are you telling me that the same factors that are working to get her off will not necessarily also work in political means to get Donald Trump on? I am profoundly skeptical of this process and the people that are involved in this process. That's my point. And evidence points towards this thing of this intermingling between the Obama administration and the FBI or the intelligence services. Deifying the National Intelligence Services. If you're a lefty, you are fucking insane. You're insane. These are the same guys that broke up Occupy Wall Street. These are the same guys that try to break up the Black Panthers. These are the same guys that try to get Martin Luther King to commit suicide. You are interacting and giving intelligence services this kind of credibility. These guys are killers and maniacs. I would be very careful on how you give your support to these particular institutions just because you dislike Donald Trump. That's what I'm saying. I'll leave. Jamal, Randy Rhodes called Comey her boyfriend. It's sad because I used to really respect Randy Rhodes. I don't know who Randy Rhodes is. I'll check her out. I'm sorry, but the Democratic Party is dead to me now. I would not vote for a Democrat. I am almost there with you, Pat. You're right to be skeptical, Jamal. Pat, I don't... Look, I guess my rule hasn't really changed. You vote for somebody who represents your interests. That's my rule. That's my rule. Supporting the party? Fuck no. Fuck no. The party is dangerous. They're batshit crazy. And by the way, it's not one or the other. It's both. The problem is both. That needs to be nailed down like nobody's business. The problem is both. Both of those parties are problematic. Both of those parties cannot be trusted. And in this case, you have the Democratic Party pulling a magnificent scam on the American public going back to 2015. Let me find that before I leave. I want you to see that. Yeah, right here. Come on. There's a WikiLeaks paper with Hillary Clinton, or Comey, I should say, in an email making the point that they need to slaughter Donald Trump. This bromance. Hillary Clinton, Obama, ISIS. This is from Brent. It's good. Sooner or later, the better clarified and stronger to get better Trump ISIS video. If we don't have proof, campaign should assign 100 people to look for it ASAP. There's probably something on tape somewhere. Essentially, find something to hit him with. Find something to hit him with. If you don't have any evidence of it, just make shit up. Best approach is to slaughter Donald Trump for his bromance with Putin, but not go too far betting on Putin and Syria. Just to be clear on this. That's 2015. 2015. This is a profound and magnificent lie. People have fell for a scam. They fell for the scam because they wanted to fall for the scam, but they fell for a scam. Ordinary people greatly dislike Donald Trump. Because they greatly dislike Donald Trump, they're more in line to believe bad things about Donald Trump, even when there's no evidence for it, even when it's outrageous. Their paradigm of the world accepts that that man is a maniac. Because they accept he's a maniac, all of these other negative attributes that they apply to him apply. Whether it's true or not, it's kind of besides the point. They apply. They have their media screaming at the top of their lungs. Now, the media is motivated to do this because the media likes the attention that they get. Rachel Maddow's show is going gangbusters. She has one conspiracy theory after the next each night to get her show wound up and get those people motivated to hate Trump. You have this other guy, this other politician, who was a Republican from Bush's ethics attorney, with a bunch of Hillbots, Democrats, loving the guy, even though the guy's going to run as a Republican. You've let your hatred for Trump fuck up your understanding of the world. That's the fact it is. You've lost a certain amount of objectivity because you hate Trump. Everything is oriented around Trump. Your problems, fact is, go beyond Trump. Your problems are involved with the system itself, not Donald Trump as an individual. Donald Trump is a factor in that particular system. He is not the system itself. Look, my main point here is the problem is not specifically Trump. Allowing Trump to rule everything and take up all the airwaves and suck up all the attention out of the room, actually take attention from real things. If you wanted to take down Trump, you take down Trump by developing who you are, by actually representing something and pointing to his fuck-ups and failures and the things that he's done in that office, which were lies and went against the people who actually voted for him. That being said, the public has been motivated to dislike Trump. They concocted this all the way back in 2015. After the election, they pushed this particular strategy. They wanted to push the strategy to obfuscate for their own failures. They wanted to undermine the populist revolt that's going on in the campaign, while at the same time giving Hillary Clinton a pass for failing to reality shows. All of this is political theater. That's my point. I'm trying to nail that point down like nobody's business. But all of this is political theater. All of the people who are pushing this are motivated to either accept it or motivated to push it for their own particular reasons. Media is motivated through cash. They want to monetize your reality. So that's fine. Democrats are using it to obfuscate for their own failures. and regular run-of-the-mill Democrats. Their paradigm of the world has no capacity to understand how Hillary Clinton lost that election. Russia helps. It assuages their failure in this way. But this is theater. Have no doubt. Have no doubt. This is theater that people accept, but it's theater nonetheless. Alright guys, so I am going to end this because my stream is really bad, and I'm going to repush this particular video after I figure out what's going on with my stream. So I'll see you guys probably in about 20 minutes. Thanks everyone.